and welcome back to the Power Accountability League. I am your pal, Dan L. This is my channel. I might be related to Cal L. Today's video is entitled Miracle on 34th Street. It happens to be one of my favorite Christmas movies. You might be surprised. My favorite time of year is Christmas time. Lots of Christmas movies. I love them. I enjoy watching them over and over each year at Christmas time. And of those Christmas movies, one of my all-time favorites is Miracle on 34th Street. It's a great movie, in my opinion. I enjoy it. Now, you might say, wait a minute, you talk about objective reality, logic, and science, and now you want me to talk about Santa Claus? Well, I think there's a dual message. Well, there's several messages going on inside the movie, and I think they're all uplifting. For me personally, the reason I love Christmas is because of the nostalgia. Some of the best years of my life were as a child at Christmas time. As a child, did I have some difficulties? Did I have things I had to overcome as a child? Yes, I did. So I had moments during my childhood which were extremely difficult. But the best parts of my childhood happened around Christmas time. And and I think that movie, Miracle on 34th Street, does a wonderful job of saying to us, you know what? Let's not make life hard for children. That's one reason I like it, because I don't hate children. In the movie, it says, can we preserve the innocence? Can we fire their imagination? And that's important. Albert Einstein said imagination is more important than knowledge. Why did he say that? He said imagination encompasses all that we can know and do. Knowledge has limits. Imagination doesn't. And I agree with Einstein. While knowledge is extremely important, wisdom is extremely important, imagination is the most important thing of all for the simple reason it allows us to get someplace impossible. I'll give you an example. If it's the year 1850 and we're standing around, you and I are best friends, and I say, you know, I wonder if there's a way to put people inside of something like a train that can fly. And my friend said, what? And I said, well, you know how trains go across the country? And my friend says, well, yeah, they're on train tracks, they're on the ground, gravity, etc. And I say, but wonder if we could break the bonds of gravity. And if we could fly like a bird, and we could put wings on a train, and we could transport people through the air. And if it was, well, maybe I said 1850, let's bump it up to 1870 maybe, but it doesn't matter. 1850, same thing. The idea of people flying from one city to another city inside of the equivalent of a train, that's insane. No amount of imagination can make that real, and yet the Wright brothers in the early 20th century would invent the airplane, which allowed us to break the bonds of gravity, or at least to suspend them and leave the surface of the planet and travel by air someplace else. We couldn't do that in 1850. Well, what about hot air balloons? Okay, hot air balloons. I'm talking about controlled flight. And hot air, what a train and a Boeing 747 may not be the same thing, but they represent the same transportation idea. A train takes a lot of people from one place to another place. A Boeing 747, same thing. You cram a lot of people inside the Boeing 747. You are in the city of Los Angeles. A few hours later, you're in the city of New York because you flew, and that's quicker than a train. So again, Miracle on 34th Street tells the adults and the children. Remember, it tells the children who are one day going to be adults. So children and adults, the one thing they have in common is all adults were once children, and all children are someday going to be adults. And yes, don't be dark and say, well, some children aren't going to make it. Yes, the bottom line is children and adults are both people, and imagination is good for them. And they both need a crutch to get through the hard times in life. And maybe that's one reason why I like Christmas, because my crutch as a child to deal with some of the harshness of reality was the flight of fancy of believing in Santa Claus and all the other beliefs that come with Christmas. It's not just Santa Claus. And there's also a morality tale, and that takes us back to the movie. In the movie, there's kind of two morality tales going on. One is the mother, played by Maureen O'Hara. She has a daughter, played by Natalie Wood. Anyway, the daughter, I think, is under 10 years old, and then the mother, she's an executive for a retail company, and she says to this guy who he wants to marry her. He's a lawyer, and she tells this lawyer friend of hers who wants to be more than friends. She says, well, I don't want to, I don't want to lie to my child. I don't want to mislead. I don't want my child to believe in all these fantasies. I want my child to be grounded in reality, keep their feet on the ground. So I'm not going to lie to her and tell her Santa Claus is going to bring her presents at Christmas time. Anyway, so she's kind of a curmudgeon. And as a child, I'm like, oh man, don't ruin. You're not just ruining it for your daughter. You're ruining Christmas for the adults. The adults like preserving the innocence of childhood, and also the some of the wonder of childhood, the magic of childhood, the fantasies that are part of childhood. Eventually, those kids will grow up and become adults, and they'll be able to make distinctions between fantasy and reality. But as a child, it's okay for us to encourage them to believe in Santa Claus because there's a second story going on here, a second morality tale. The first morality tale is if you're a parent, one of your jobs is to make childhood special, to make childhood less harsh than it's going to be, because childhood for everyone's going to be hard. Let's try and take some of the edge off of childhood. So let's let them believe in Santa Claus. But the second morality tale is Santa Claus has a naughty list and a nice list. And if you're going to get presents at Christmas time, you need to be on Santa's nice list. Why is that a good thing? Because it's telling us probably better to be nice than naughty. And so there's two stories going on here. And also the little girl who's kind of cynical, she's like I said, she's under 10, but she has some of her mom's cynicism, and that kind of destroys a part of childhood. When you have the cynicism of an adult, that's not what you want in children. You want them to now. You don't want them to believe in only. You don't want them to tell them everything is. You can create your own reality. Everything's a fantasy. You don't want to do that, but you want to allow them to engage their imagination. And at Christmas time, the imagination is working overtime. And like I said a few minutes ago, Einstein said the most important thing for humanity is to encourage the development of imagination. Because, like I said, imagination allowed someone to imagine airplanes and allowed someone to imagine landing on the moon and allowed someone to imagine building a train that goes across the country, allowed someone else to imagine building a nuclear aircraft carrier, allowed someone else to, so imagination allows us to get somewhere special. It allows us to get to the future, allows us to create things that other people say can't be created because they don't really have good imagination. So encouraging children, or at least allowing children to buy into the fantasy of Santa Claus and Christmas time and presents, it's okay. I'm not a curmudgeon. I'm okay with it. And by the way, I've also stated that yes, I do focus on objective reality, logic, and science, but we all have a crutch. And for me, one of the crutches I have to get through a harsh reality, to get through life, is Christmas time. It allows me to deal with some of the bad things, the hard things, the difficult things that happen in the months of the year that aren't Christmas months. So that's my little. This is kind of a anecdotal, personal story for me, but it's also, I think, a reminder that while objective reality, truth, and I'm sorry, while objective reality, logic, and science, and objective truth, while those should be the governing principles of existence for human beings, it's okay that we enable the imagination in our lives. We enable the fantasy portion of our minds. And that comes out, I think, best at Christmas time. Now, it comes out in other times of the year, but at Christmas time, it's not actual magic, but it's a reality, it's a subjective reality we create for ourselves, and I don't think it's a negative one. I don't think it's a harmful one. I think Christmas time is a positive subjective reality. And most subjective realities, I've told you, don't lead you in the right direction. But there's always an exception to the rule. And the exception to the rule on subjective reality is that when you have Christmas time, which is supposed to bring people together, for me personally as a child, I didn't just like getting gifts. I liked going out and buying gifts for other people. So I got to receive gifts and I was happy to do it, but I also enjoyed searching for presents for people that I cared about. I enjoyed seeing the look on their face when they opened up something that I got them. And I know my parents enjoyed the look on their children's faces when myself and my sibling, my sister, when we got to open up our presents. They liked that look on our face. They liked the fact that for at least one day of the year, all of the demons and the gremlins and the harsh realities we all deal with, it could just kind of disappear and we could enjoy something special. We could enjoy something as a family. Probably the family aspect's really important to me too. That's probably why I'm most nostalgic because my family was able to have some wonderful Christmases. Now, sadly, as I got older, those things went away. Not just because was becoming an adult, but because my family, like a lot of American families, fragmented and went all over the place. And my own family broke up, which was sad. And to this day, it makes me sad. But the reality is, some of the most wonderful moments, the most optimistic, magical moments of my life was when I was a kid, and it was at Christmas time. So I don't know what you're doing this Christmas, but I encourage you to be like the lawyer in the movie Miracle. On Miracle on 34th Street, it's the lawyer fighting to prove to the government that someone who claims to be Kris Kringle is in fact Kris Kringle. He doesn't actually have to be Santa Claus. He just has to represent the spirit of Christmas. And I think that movie captures the spirit of Christmas and it captures the spirit of being young and innocent and a good person. So that's today's video on that movie. I encourage you to watch the movie and maybe share it with someone you care about. You have a wonderful Christmas and Happy New Year. Bye bye.